Before you launch your boat or hit the water at Baker Lake, there's a couple things I wish someone would have told me. Let's break down the stuff that nobody talks about, but every angler should know before going up and chasing after the Baker Lake Sockeye. We're going to talk about the first one, and that is no cell service. Yes, there is nothing up there. So you need to plan accordingly with a trip plan of letting people know what you're doing, where you're going, all those good things. But what do you do when you get there? Well, here's what I found out. Because there's no cell service, I bring now a radio with me, just your handheld walkie-talkie radio. That way you can find a channel and at least try and talk to somebody if you get in trouble. Otherwise, you're going to have to run and flag somebody down. Now, if you're on the water itself, obviously you got a marine radio in your boat, hopefully, or you can have a satellite phone. Those things can definitely help you out. But I didn't know about that. So the first time I went up there, let me tell you, it was a little spooky because yes, you're with friends but if you're in the situation of meeting a guide and they tell you, hey, we're going to meet here, well, you get there and all the boats are there and set up. You may not know what boat the guide specifically is in, and you may have trouble finding them. So it really may pay dividends to having a walkie-talkie and communicating ahead of time, or if you're fishing with a buddy group, you can have that communication together so nobody gets lost and everyone's always accounted for. Definitely important. And with that too, save your maps offline. You can use those maps to use later on when you have no service, but that's definitely a way to help yourself make sure you're already ready and going. Now, the second thing I wish somebody told me, there's a lot of debris in the water. You may hear of deadheads and some of those things when you're out maybe in the saltwater, but Baker Lake, it has a lot of debris floating in the water. And some of these are large logs. They aren't just a few sticks or something like that. So for those that want to launch, and typically early in this season when there's a lot of people, you're launching before 3 a.m., if you can believe that. It is very, very hard to see some of this debris in the water. Even with your radar and some of the other things you may have on your boats, it still is not super easy to see. So be careful. It's not worth having a big issue in the middle of nowhere with no cell service if you have a problem hitting something. So if you are going to run out, definitely go slow. Have a floodlight system if you have the ability to when you're running, just so you can help yourself see debris. Please be careful. I really don't want anybody to get hurt while they're running out there to enjoy this fun fishery. But definitely something to be aware of if you've never been up there. Something I also wish I knew was that your surface temperatures extremely affect how these fish behave. Now, opening weekend, there were 15,000 fish in the lake, and it was 68 degrees on the surface temperature already. So, what does that mean? A lot of anglers may not know that that's going to drive the fish deeper. You got to pay attention to the conditions as you get there and adjust as you need to. Those fish were already pushing 55 to 70 feet, and that was opening day. Now, as more pressure happens and more fish gets dumped in the lake, it's going to change things up. You never know what's going to happen. A cold front could blow through and throw the fish off entirely. So definitely pay attention to the lake itself on the surface temperature to correlate to how you're fishing your depth. Now, how do you fix that? Or how do you go about combating that? Maybe you do downriggers and you do dropper rods. Maybe you have the way to separate out your differences in depth and tell you where the fish are going to be at. That might be the best way until you develop a pattern, and then you can go forward with it. What about number 4? What if you're staying up on the lake and you want to go camping? Well, I'll be honest, the reserve sites fill up about as fast as they get turned on to register. So what do? Well, there's an option that you can actually go launch your boat, drive out on the lake, and go find a camping spot on the lake where you can go up lake, down lake, and find some spots on shore where you can tent camp and actually enjoy a really cool experience. So be safe when you do that. Always remember that you're by the water and all those good things, but that is an option. You can also do some of the first come first serve ramps where they have some campgrounds available. That's definitely hit or miss, but the option is there to be able to tent camp and have an experience where you can already be launched in the water and you're taking care of just getting up in the morning and going. And with that said, being busy, maybe you guys carpool together to save an extra car from having to park. If one person is able to launch the boat and the other person can go park, that might be the difference in saving you time. But what if you guys are going up to meet a guide? Please look ahead of time into the different areas where you can park or where you're going to be at. Sometimes it is challenging to find a parking spot. That's where it comes in, having a radio or some way to contact the guide when you get there, just to make sure that everything's kosher and nothing gets messed up. So definitely want to help you guys out there. Now I got 2 bonus tips for you actually. So what's going to be one of the coolest things that can help save your day? Mobility. If you have the option to go chase and find new fish, do it, because mobility could save yourself getting out of a bad school of fish and are unwilling to bite into a fresh pot of fish. I'll give you the story of our opening day. We started out near the dam, found a ton of fish, but they didn't want to bite anything. So we ran up lake and found a new pot of fish amongst the group of people, and we got into them right away with a couple doubles. So that just tells me, keep always moving. Don't second guess your plan. Have a good fishing plan, but adjust as the conditions need to. Be ready for unexpected weather. This one, many people may not be aware of, but Baker Lake can turn on an instant. If you start seeing that little breeze go to a chop on the water, it's worth getting yourself off the water just to be safe, because that water can turn in a heartbeat and you will be regretting being far up lake and having to battle that chop the whole way back. So please be safe and always pay attention to what the weather is doing. Sockeye fishing is not just a set it and forget it fishery. If you're going through fish, whether you're fishing droppers or downriggers, make sure you're changing your gear, meaning that you're changing your depth, changing your speed, maybe it's a scent. Don't be complacent with just putting your gear down and letting it ride until you either do or don't. I do a 15-minute rule on bait. That way I know I have the freshest scent down there. And yeah, you may go through more coonies or sand shrimp, but isn't that worth it to get your bite? Definitely make some adjustments, and once you find that pattern, you can dial those fish in, and then it's catching them all day long. So if you're headed to Baker Lake, these tips can not only save your day, but they could save your season. Let me know in the comments if you have any tips that you wish you would have known. I'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't seen our opener video, check it out right here. It was a blast. Tight lines and fish on!